So, where we last left off, our party went through a bunch of FTL shenanigans, trapped on a ship, investigating weird phenomenon, until eventually we breached after avoiding another starship adrift in the Echo. Surfaced, got a nice view, and then were interrupted by a radio transmission claiming, "I am Lord Francis Smith, Captain of the Tempestborn, and you are trespassing." So, where we start back up is where he continues his speech. "Stabilize your orbit and deactivate your propulsion system in Echo Drive." And at this point, everybody on the bridge is now murmuring and talking, and it seems like Zacharias is basically just kind of going to his nearest aides and discussing what to think about this entire situation.
Could I do a culture check on these guys? Like
On
on
who?
the house, on fucking
Yes, go
the
right ahead.
group that he's with?
What are you talking about? The group that he's with? The group that Zacharias is with? The
No,
radio
the
transmission?
radio transmission.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, wasn't very great.
You aren't necessarily certain about the Smith family, but you do know that you are above Castellum, which is, for all intents and purposes, a fortress of a world, which means that it likely has a high military presence.
Okay. We're not about to get you know, taken away, are we? Like I'm asking this to our group, like kind of murmuring it on the right. Whereas we're not about to get messed up here, are we?
My arms have been crossed this entire time. I don't even look at you, Tim Tom. I just kind of shrug my shoulders.
Oh. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, great. We've started because
Yep. Got tired. Alright.
You have not missed much. We are dealing with the fact that we have been accused of trespassing in this system.
So, you all are in the midst of chatting when the radio sparks once again. Well, the radio, but the comms transmission sparks, and once again you get Smith, Sir Francis's voice. "Unidentified jump ship, do you copy?" And at this point, Zacharias, who seems to have been in the midst of a small communication with the ship that you are linked to, keeping in mind that your current ship is attached to a much larger one that is capable of FTL travel.
Yes.
Eventually, Zacharias deactivates his little comm bead and turns back towards the party. Yes, the captain of the jump ship that we are traversing with had no idea that this was restricted in terms of its space. How should we go about this?
Well, objectively, we really only have two options. We don't have weapons, so we can't fight. So either A, we turn tail and run and hope that they don't shoot us down first, or, well, give in to their demands.
So what you're telling me is there's some kind of navigation error, and if we had jumped to slightly different coordinates, this wouldn't have been happening.
No, I'm fairly certain that this entire area is restricted during wartime. I hadn't thought about it until this point. I had assumed that a ship carrying a vessel of Baldor heritage would be enough to lower their guard, but I assume that they're ready for Trojan horses.
Well, if they think we're a Trojan horse and not actually associated with House Baldor, maybe we just need to negotiate with them. Which would mean
It
for
sounds
now,
like you just need to let them know.
Which would mean for now complying with their demands. I'd say shut down the jump drive, get on comms, let them know we're Baldor. Or rather, you're Baldor.
Yeah, no, he puts an ear to his comm bead and talks with the captain of the jump ship, where you don't quite hear anything, but you assume that they're coordinating matters on their side.
If the problem really is that they think this is a Trojan horse, all we need to do is verify your identity.
I guess you're right. It's been quite some time since I've dealt with the Dominion. He goes ahead and clicks a few things on his command throne, at which point you assume that the mic is open from your side. Hail, Lord Francis. This is Zacharias of the Stenham Estate. We have been separated some time from Dominion space, and we are reuniting at this point in time. At which point, there is a calm silence as if they are trying to verify, like, the actual fact that the Stenham family exists. And after a while, it sparks once again. Alright, Zacharias, you come from a family that has been harbored under the Syndicate's banner for quite some time. What assurance do you have that you are not bringing spies or anything of a subterfuge sort into our realm? At which point, Zacharias just kind of like, you can see almost his like personality sulk back into the chair, like puckered lips, drawn in eyes, like he is very nervous, and he looks towards the party.
Well, I don't know if we want to lay all of our cards on the table right now, but we among, I kind of do air quotes, the deathless, are wanted for treason by the Syndicate. There's no way we're spies, and there's no way you'd harbor us if you really were working with them. That's my best plan, but
That scratches his 5 o'clock shadow and looks towards the rest of the party.
that would require us to lay that on the table, and I don't know how comfortable we are doing that right now.
Well, it makes sense. What
I'd keep that secret for now.
You have any better ideas?
Zacharias just kind of goes like, I don't know if telling them that I'm harboring fugitives is a good idea.
I hold up a finger. Syndicate fugitives.
Yes, but still fugitives.
Well,
Levi,
Did the Dominion
Yeah,
work for the Syndicate
ahead.
at all?
The
would
Dominion and the Syndicate are at war.
would there be a role of some kind that you would like for me to see if my my affiliation with the Grey Order could help any?
Okay, yeah, what knowledges do you have?
Let's see
Do you have any
here.
applicable skills?
I mean, I would be tempted to ask for it as diplomacy
Let's look at
or
don't have any in culture. I'm gonna say you can go ahead and make a intelligence check.
sure, I'll make a flat intelligence check. Nope.
Natural 1.
Very nice.
As far as you're aware, these guys, okay, so it's a bit of a strange relationship. These guys aren't like order associated. You know that in some of their courts they hold the Pale King as like, you know, an icon of worship. Like there's a religious counterpart, and the House Draconis is deeply enmeshed within that religion, but other than that, you have no idea. You don't necessarily hold authority over Dominion forces.
Right. Okay.
I've laid my idea on the table and I don't hear anyone else talking.
well, I agree with both sides of the spectrum here, but I still think we probably shouldn't tell them that, hey, we're wanted fugitives. I think, if we're just
If we really were
associates,
spies, why would we be on this ship if we're wanted by the Syndicate?
Yeah, the radio crackles, and unidentified ship, we are waiting on a response.
I don't think
Zacharias looks like he's tearing himself apart.
Mm.
Like he's got a hand in his hair, and he's just kind of like, what do I do?
I guess we really don't have a choice but to tell them that.
You know what? He clicks the button on and immediately shouts, we have fugitives from the Syndicate. We're here to help the war effort? And he
Carthen's eyes are gonna
immediately slaps both of his hands to his face as if he did not
sure
mean to say
I
that.
would have said that last part.
Carthen's eyes visibly start to like bug out of his fucking skull.
Tim Tom's
I
just
don't
kind of sitting
normally
there.
deal with people. I'm sorry.
Tim Tom's just kind of sitting there with like this look of, oh shit. You just hear
Doc
Tim
is
Tom
just
under his
like-
breath, just
Ah,
uh-oh.
Why?
At which point you hear a response. Very well, unidentified vessel. There is a second of pause. We shall commence boarding and introduction shortly.
That could have went
You're-
worse.
You're telling me that fucking worked.
I
I kind of puff out
yes.
my chest proudly and cross my arms. You can tell there's a satisfied fucking smirk behind my helmet.
mean, you all wanted to be mercenaries, right?
We don't have a
Here
choice.
we are, I suppose.
I didn't know what I wanted when I joined this endeavor.
Wait, did he say boarding?
He did.
Yes. Yes, he said boarding.
He said boarding and introduction.
Zacharias gets up and immediately looks over towards a couple of the crew members. I need you and Dala. Come here. And immediately he rushes off.
I have a good idea every now and again.
So they have left the bridge, and now you all are here along with a bunch of nervous and sweating bridge crew members.
I'm not sure I would have included that with the help with the war effort part, but
Cartha's gonna kind of widen his stance to relax it and sort of settle into some sort of rest. Well, here we are. At least we're not burning.
true enough.
Or crashing.
And if I'm being honest, I'm no friend of the houses, but currently we're enemies of the syndicate. If nothing else, I'd like to portray us not necessarily as steadfast, staunch allies, but as people with a common enemy.
Zacharias comes back into the room, now covered in sweat, and looks around. Where did the moth go?
Well, you recall having met, I kind of snap my fingers as I'm trying to remember his name.
Yarreach.
Sal. You remember Sal, yes?
I have little time for pleasantries. Do you have anybody that is capable with engineering?
Among us now? Not sure.
I have a +8 in engineering.
Kind of shakes his head to try and clear Among Us from his brain.
Tim Tom kind of raises his hand a little bit. It's like, I know a little bit.
Hold of your arm, and even though he's not capable of dragging you, you probably let social restrictions and boundaries tow you along.
I have a little bit of engineering expertise.
You are dragged out of the bridge and into the brig.
Oh, nice.
At
Tim
which
Tom just sitting there's like, I'm not under arrest, am I?
he drags you through the brig doors, and you kind of maybe swallow, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not arresting you. I just need help with something. I need to find a place to hide it."
What?
He kind of takes a few nervous steps towards a cell door and opens it, at which point you see inside of the cell is a coffin.
Oh, forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
From the possessed lady?
No, he's a dampire. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. What do you need me to do?
Well, I need some kind of space. The ship has a lot of available paneling, so I need to hide this.
Give me a screwdriver.
At which point he looks around, just goes. He stops for a second, and then his expression immediately goes towards the female subordinate to his side. And Dala kind of gives off a sigh as if she's not paid enough for this, and runs off to go and find some tools.
Alright, just get our
Tim Tom
tools.
starts looking around. Do you want it in here? Do you want it somewhere else?
We
You
need
want
it
it
anywhere that we
perhaps
can
you want
get it.
here as well.
Maybe in the next 20 minutes, because that's probably how long it's going to take for them to board.
Okay.
Do you have any schematics of the vessel somewhere I could find like a crawl space big enough to stuff this in?
I had a lot of schematics, but they are all within my cabin, so I'll be right with you. And he too runs off, and you are left with the coffin.
And Tom kind of looks at it, tilts his head. Why can't he just use a bed?
That's some
Why?
vampire bullshit.
You know, to be honest, until I met the rest of you guys, never seen a dead man walking. Magic didn't exist, and now I'm thrust into a very precarious situation.
You are only
This
in the
mag-
room with Vaughn at the moment. I'm fairly
Yeah.
sure.
It's like,
Yes.
this magic stuff is freaking weird.
Yeah, it is quite odd, isn't it?
Sweet Lois.
Freaking sweet.
Yeah, sweet.
Do you want to
So
look at the coffin?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll kind of walk up to it and lift the lid.
Yeah,
See what it looks like
Sam-
on the inside.
it's not locked. So you go ahead and just wander up to it. It's a nice slate, almost obsidian black. It's got this sheen to it that tells you that it's rather expensive. It has almost like a marbled oak framing, but you go ahead and just lift up the lid, and you see that there is a body inside of this coffin.
How fresh is the body?
You go ahead and push it down all the way, and you find a familiar sight. Still garbed in armor, minus a chest plate. Now with his helmet removed, you see a pale, almost shriveled figure, very ugly in visage. Lips kind of shrunk back as if he hasn't had water in who knows how long.
Oh fuck, it's Jackson.
Long, pointed ears that just kind of taper off. You have found the staked body of Jackson.
Oh no.
Tim Tom kind of scratches behind his ear. That's the guy that crashed my car, right?
Yeah, he's the guy that almost killed us.
Tim Tom closes the lid.
Back in Kiliad.
Pat,
At which point, Zacharias comes back in with several data pads and immediately shoves a couple of them into your hands and just whatever crevice you can find.
Would this be a computer's or
Probably an
find us?
engineering check.
Okay.
I'm gonna assist.
All right.
24.
So with a total of a 26 on that roll, you all managed to find a spot for this to get jammed and packed into a very, very small place underneath the actual cargo quarters. There are a couple of false deck platings that you basically just wrench up and hide him below.
As Tim Tom's I imagine it gets stuck a little bit, and Tim Tom's how? And Tim Tom's getting a little upset, so he kind of kicks it in so that way it goes into place.
I imagine whenever you kick it, he's just be careful with that. You don't want him to... And he kind of freezes up as if he still doesn't know that you know. At which point, they continue. You seal up the paneling. And it's just about that time that you do hear some proximity warnings, some clicking from the radio, the intercom.
Tim Tom dusts his hands off, looks at him, well, first time I've ever had to hide a body. And just walks out the room.
Not my first time, sadly.
Oh boy.
He's not gonna wake up and massacre us all, is he?
I couldn't bring myself to just kill him. He's been with our family for a long time.
That didn't answer my question.
If he comes back, I will handle him like I did before.
Okay.
I hope so.
Anyway, I think we have guests.
Where do we put this?
I think you're right, and I need to get dressed.
Tim Tom fucking stuffed it under a fucking deck plating.
Okay.
That's where we fucking random fucking deck plating.
In this episode, the boys recreate The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, with vampires in space.
Tim Tom just walks out. It's well, go ahead and get back with our guys.
Yep.
Yeah, Zacharias has disappeared. So where are all of you guys staying.
Well, I thought we were in the bridge initially.
Yeah, if you want to stay in the bridge, that's fine.
Might as well. I figured it's probably the best place to be right now, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Very well. So,
Just head back to the bridge, I guess.
some time passes. These ships have to take varying amounts of time to just kind of establish a safe coupling. That way they don't vent themselves into space trying to walk between ships.
The ship's venting. Sus.
Oh no.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun, dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun.
Death walks among us.
Yeah, oh my.
Um,
Wow, that really is just a curse at this point. So, eventually, some time passes, and you all witness Zacharias, who currently has like a hand behind his head, kind of scratching and nervously chatting, with a very tall man in a like a noble blue uniform, a chest plate that has more ceremonial meaning than really any kind of practical meaning, and he is accompanied by 2 different guards. You can see more behind them, but they are splitting off and just kind of looking around. He seems to laugh for a second, Zacharias, kind of to a joke that this individual has perhaps offered him, but it definitely sounds false, as if he's just trying to basically brown nose. They both stop in front of the party, and most of the bridge crew goes silent as this man begins his introductions. I believe you had heard me over the radio, but I will reiterate. I am Lord Francis Smith, and you are the Deathless, I presume.
Yes.
That's the name we've been given.
Tim Tom nods his head.
If I
I've
may
been
have a
also
chance to gain your actual names instead of just your group name, perhaps we could begin some means of association.
447.
Vaku.
Dr. Timothy Thomas.
A doctor on your crew.
Carth pal.
Very well. He kind of clasps his hands together, and you get a sense that he looks very tired over this meeting, as if he's had to go through maybe several of them. And as he continues walking, he is just chatting with Zacharias, basically walking across the bridge, introducing themselves to the ship. What all are you doing?
I'm standing about observing this conversation.
I'm also just kind of standing around, just observing.
Very well. The both of you make sense motive checks.
Sure.
Okay, got a
Ah,
bonus
shit.
to that actually. Add my d6.
So, 447, you get a very broad overview of just like Zacharias and Surf Smith venturing throughout the ship, kind of getting a sense of its capabilities.
Mhm.
The Deathless are brought up in conversation every once in a while, as well as the Stenham Royal Guard. You don't get much. It just seems very formal,
Yeah,
like what the surface level was.
Yeah, seems like a very routine conversation I might expect between 2 officers of different ships.
Yeah. When it comes to Vaku, you notice a sense of repeating patterns. When any kind of capability of the craft or crew is brought up, Francis kind of skips over it. When the Deathless are brought up, he doesn't seem very concerned with your capabilities so much as your history. It's about the time that you all are like halfway through a tour that the Deathless's past actually is brought up, and they are stopped in mid-conversation. Zacharias reiterates kind of how he found you guys amidst a shipwreck, kind of raised you about and helped you get off the ground, investigate a family keep. You all disappeared to the city, which kind of, you see his eyebrow kind of raise in a bit of suspicion, at which point he kind of ends the topic by just saying, like, we got a hold of the ship, wrangled them out some components, allowed for some repairs, and got off world. And now here we are. So, eventually, Zacharias has to pardon himself for a bit of a break, just to kind of, get refreshed, use the restroom, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And in that time, almost seeming a little bit bored with the rest of the ship, he refocuses back onto you all, since you're just kind of falling about.
Yeah,
So, you all ended up in Holland.
that's right.
Do anything
Alright.
interesting?
Let's just say the work opportunities there didn't exactly fit our moral requirements.
He kind of
We
gives it.
kind of got twisted into something a little bigger than we
Tim Tom
anticipated.
jabs Vaku in the side as he's talking.
Nope.
Arthur's going to meekly raise a hand. I wasn't a part of this at this point in time.
And that's true. He's a more recent pickup.
How recent?
I kind of like scratched the back of my neck. Well, we met him on the way to Holland's, and then he turned up again on our way to another vault we were going to explore. So I'd say, what, a week or two?
If that.
Well,
You
then
went to
there's also
explore
been
a vault.
ship transit. The point is it hasn't been very long. I'm sure you've heard some things about us, and I can assure you he wasn't involved in that little fiasco.
That little fiasco. I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar. Could you...
There was... You're aware that the Syndicate and the Dominion are at war, I'm sure.
Yes, I am aware. Very aware.
We were at the grounds when that happened.
That's where I thought I had known you all. You were at the party with our lord and his posse.
Point is, Karth here wasn't there for that, so he's a fairly recent addition.
Kind of gives a few understanding nods.
But that vault, since you were asking about it, just another House Baldor fixture, had a living occupant still inside that we took some work from.
Well, I must admit, I am not one for plain deception, so I will say, you are an interesting query, being present at Ground Zero in one particular incident.
Wrong place, wrong time.
No, I completely understand. It's just, there are a few things that need answering.
Such as?
Goodness, I'm not quite adept at this investigative work. So...
I'm going to be honest with you, too. I'm not exactly the talking sort, and I'm a horrible liar. So if you want any questions answered truthfully, might as well ask me.
He kind of seems to gauge throughout his memory, his recollection of the event. You get a sense that he wasn't actually at the party himself, so his knowledge of it is pretty limited. How did the entire scuffle start, anyway?
There was an incident that happened at the terraforming platform.
At the platform?
There was an infiltrator who was working with Stursk. She used a psychoactive effect to convince. Well, convince is the wrong word.
Rick?
You're familiar with psionics as an ability, no?
Some people are adept at the magical craft.
If you want to call it magic, I suppose it's one way to look at it. There's an ability to bring people more or less under your thrall, deceive them, have them do what you want them to do. Such an individual with this kind of ability was present at the terraforming platform and used her power to manipulate one of our own into sending it into overdrive.
He kind of
This
almost a
ended
bit
up sparking
surprised at how much information he is being given. Just kind of crosses his arms.
This ended up sparking the conflict. I was at the platform when it happened. I wasn't back at the manor to see when the fighting actually broke out, but we know that incident is what caused the war to start. Fingers were pointed, people were blamed, and now there's going to be a conflict with a lot of needless death.
So you're saying that there was a mysterious third party that just started this all?
That's correct.
Well, I must say that is a very interesting theory.
It's not a theory. I was there. I saw it.
I get it. I get it. Very well. I shall not need an excuse from your captain. I believe I have all that I came for. Good day.
I'm gonna
gentlemen.
sense motive that.
So I get sense mode as well.
Well, yeah, I'll let Vaku do it.
You kind of get a sense that he's just kind of... This is for 447, by the way.
Mhm.
You get a sense that he's probably just fulfilled his thing. He's seen enough of the ship. He's done here.
Okay, I know.
Vaku, you kind of understand that there was a secret motive for him boarding the ship. Now that he's understood that there is somebody that is involved with the gala, you kind of get the feeling that he's slipping away to maybe tell some people. At which point he kind of takes his leave. His 2 troopers leave with him.
After he leaves, I'm just like, yeah, he's definitely gonna tell his friends about us.
I'm not too concerned if we're honest. Like I said, we're syndicate fugitives. They're at war with the syndicate. They have nothing to gain from bringing harm to us.
Aside from the possible threat that they may perceive from us, since you all were there whenever this little war got kicked off.
Maybe so. But at the same time, we are enemies of their enemies. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily of
I
our
guess-
allies, though.
I guess we're having to make bedfellows, huh?
Looks like it.
Let's just hope that we're bedfellows and not about to be led to a chopping block somewhere.
Or captured and turned in as some bargaining chip to shorten the war, which could happen.
Zacharias comes back and he's just like, all right.
It was going.
Well,
I'm
and
still
he looks
talking
around.
with my party. It was going to have to come out eventually.
Where did Francis go? What did you say?
I told him the truth about the gauntlet.
What's truth?
The terraforming platform, we were there when it was activated.
Remind me, have you told Zacharias about this?
Have
I don't
we?
think you've gotten time.
I do not think that we have.
I don't think we have either.
I
He
thought
seems
we
completely
did.
clueless.
I thought we told him.
Have you told him?
I thought we did. Granted, we can't go back and... I mean, it's all over the news, isn't it? We're wanted fucking...
Yeah,
For treason.
you're wanted. He knows that something happened. I don't know if you've disclosed it in full.
I figured it was all over the news and we were basically, like, framed for fucking, like, actually activating the terraforming platform.
At which point he kind of just like, you told me that you all were innocent in that matter.
We are innocent. It's just that we
You
were
told them the truth.
the truth that we were framed.
Well,
I'm sure he saw the news as well. I just wanted to clear up any misconceptions.
We'll just have to hope that he buys that. And hope that whoever he sends is as accommodating as he is.
If he's been paying any attention to recent events, there's no hiding the fact that we were at the site when it happened and we're being blamed for its occurrence.
He also recognized us, didn't he?
He
This
did.
was this like it, you almost, because he said it's like, oh, that's where I remember you.
Yes.
So it almost gave me the idea that he might have been at the gala.
Well, he apparently wasn't actually there, but he does recognize us from the gala somehow.
So he at least knows we were there. So in theory, it would give us credit to our story.
My
Just a
point
matter of
is
fact.
that Galactic or Sector or whatever news is painting us as criminals. I was taking the opportunity to clear the air.
Let's just hope that he believed you. As Karth sort of crosses his arms and sort of leans against a banister.
It's a burden we're going to carry with everyone we interact with in this sector.
Tom finds a chair and sits down.
I'd rather talk with a Dominion representative than a Syndicate representative at this point.
So, about an hour passes until the ship receives another radio transmission that the jump ship is required to depart immediately, whereas Zacharias' vessel is to basically make way for a landing procedure to go ahead and descend near the Crucible, which is the top layer, one of the fortress layers on Castellum. It is also informed that it will be under heavy escort.
Makes you wish your reach were here right about now, huh?
Where is he? I could have sworn he was with us.
Doctor,
Someone
you know what happens from time to time with us.
Yeah.
He probably got stuck in a vent somewhere.
No. Dun, 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 dun.
Tom kind of sits there's like, didn't several of you guys get stuck in a vent? Like, literally?
We had to shove you. Wait, no. Did we shove you through that, or did we drag you the long way? I don't remember.
I don't know. I just woke up, and then
That was easily the worst experience I've had since waking up out of the two. I'm not talking about it.
fair enough.
Talking about what exactly?
When
know,
we got gassed, Vaku.
Oh, yes.
You got gassed.
I said I'm not talking about it.
Oh, yeah, we
It
got
was a
gassed
very
by a
traumatic.
slug.
It was a very traumatic and emotional ordeal.
Right.
Old party member jumped off of that several 100-foot
300-foot
intersection.
into a museum. We end up slicing that slug in half.
Gotta say, that was one hell of a kill. Kind of wish Darian was still around.
I feel really sorry for the janitors in that place.
We don't really know what happened to him after that. He just kind of
No,
walked off
doctor. With that kind of mess, janitorial staff isn't cleaning it. They're sending medical and hazmat to take care of that.
Fair enough.
At least if they have any sense, that's what they did.
There's just like a janitor somewhere that's just going, "Oh my god!" It's like the whole mess.
Holy shit.
Like Hazmat shows up just to smoke a cigarette and throw it on the fucking pile.
But
You just see fucking the janitor Scruffy from fucking Futurama mopping up the huge ass blood stain.
Scruffy wouldn't give a fuck. He'd just do it.
You're right. But some scruffy looking motherfucker like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Scruffy don't get paid enough for this.
I'm a man, and you're a cleaning appliance.
It'll never work.
My god.
Mop Bucket loves you, Scruffy.
Tell me, were there many vintage copies of Zero G Jugs just lying around in the ship?
What?
Zero G Jugs. It's the porno Meg Scruffy reads.
Oh!
Are you asking me sincerely, or is this just a joke?
I mean,
It's not here. Alright.
I mean, it's mainly a joke, but like, would there be any sort of like weird shit just lying around the ship?
So when are we hitting the atmosphere here?
Not in this ship, and as for the preparations, you're definitely having to assemble into a formation. That way the escorts can more comfortably fit into a position where you're not risking bumping into each other, giving each other plenty of space. But a course is set over the course of a couple of hours, trying to get into the right orbit. That way you can descend precisely where you want to. And this is just kind of like the ship, the bridge crew kind of deciding. At which point, several thrusters are fired, the ship is reoriented and brought into a proper descension into the atmosphere. No.
Tom's gonna go to his room and start packing up his stuff.
I'm gonna
fucking bag so that we can
look
get ready
down
to leave.
towards the planet and just muse. Eureka's mentor's out there somewhere.
Yep.
No,
haven't seen
to
Yarich in a
those of you
while.
on the bridge.
Like I said, we all know what happens to us sometimes. He's indisposed, I'm sure.
Now, to those of you on the bridge, Castellum almost appears to be like an iron orb. You get a sense that whatever craggy, mountainous rock that makes up its surface is probably partially tinged with a bit of iron or some kind of metallic substance because it almost seems to emit a sheen. And you can see deep cracks and crevices across its surface. There is no visible plant life
Have
currently.
I seen a planet like this before, ever?
Um, Honestly, most of the fighting that you've been are on like actual core worlds, which were either found to already have plant life or terraformed over quite a bit of time to try and have plant life.
But what I'm looking at here is basically a metal planet.
It isn't necessarily metal. Most of it is like a rocky surface that has almost like a metallic tinge to
okay.
it. It's not like it's plated.
Alright. So I didn't know if I was staring at like an artificial planet or what the fuck.
No, it's kind of like a ferrous rock substance.
Alright. So
It is
this
craggy and mountainous. It is barren of life.
Right. Okay, it's basically a moon, more or less then. I
It
mean,
is like a moon, but you already
Alright.
get a sense that it is far larger than, say, just for our comparison, OOC, Earth's moon.
Mhm.
It's the moon of a gas giant, and thus has much more of a
Okay. So
an
I've
ability to
definitely
do-
probably seen something like this before, but never been up close.
Yeah, probably. Probably seen it on star charts or in the
Yup.
academy. That out of the way, eventually you descend, and though you notice that it does have an atmosphere that does have a slight oxygen composition, thus kind of igniting around the ship's hull, it is much less pressure than you would typically be accustomed to. It's not nearly as fiery, the hull isn't getting to a glowing point, and the escort ships around you are having a very easy time descending around you. Eventually, you make it towards what almost appears to be a valley within the cracks from which a large superstructure seems to kind of emerge, spiking like an artificial mountain. Several fortress tops and landing platforms, varying assemblies that clearly dig into the surface of this rocky environment far down deep below the crust. So, those of you that are seated because it is rocky and not quite in a position where you can walk around and look,
Mm-hmm.
you will descend further and further down until eventually the ship's retro thrusters kick in and begin to slow the descent. You are now getting closer and closer to the fortress, which has been deemed the Crucible. Not many of you know of like the city structures of Castellum, so seeing one city, one like fortress, metallic defenses cropping up from basically poking out from between the mountains is definitely different than most of you are accustomed to. You continue to go down and down into the jaws of this metallic beast until eventually the ship comes to a crawling fall and settles nicely on a large, what almost appears to be elevator-ish platform. Definitely large enough to handle this dropship. There is a time before you eventually hear monumentous gears coming to pass, and this ship is lowered down and down below the surface of Castellum and down into, well, the depths of the Crucible itself. If any of you are paying attention, you do see the gears of great monumental doors swiveling and coming to a close above you, interlocking teeth until eventually what is the sound of a great pressurization begins. This chamber, this hangar, is beginning to fill with breathable air. The elevator comes to a stop, safely enshrouded within the depths of this fortress. And everything comes back to a crawl, aside from the distant rumble of machinery beneath your feet, the great churning of gears, and mighty creations spurned to life, constantly ticking and whirring and breathing. It's almost like the sound of being trapped within a ship, but multiplied. What all are you going to do?
Well, we're still inside of our jump ship while it's entering this facility, right?
Yeah, the elevator has slowed to a still.
Mm-hmm.
You all are no longer moving, it seems. The ship has successfully landed.
Okay. Well, in that case, I suppose I'm going to head for the exit airlock.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna make my way there as well.
Yeah, it's not really much reason to just stick around.
So
Yeah,
would that in this case be like the cargo bay?
yeah, you all are heading to the cargo bay,
Okay.
waiting for those great doors on its sides to churn open. That way you can
Oh,
make your
actually,
way
you know
out.
what I am going to do? While we're walking, I'm going to address Tim Tom. Doctor, is our rig in working order? I know you were working on and off during our transit.
It should still be, yeah.
Just want to make sure it has all of its parts attached where all
Ah.
those parts belong.
Well, I had help from Yarich. If I didn't know how to reassemble something, he did it for me.
All right. Just want to make sure it's in one piece now that we're planet side. We might need it.
Probably.
Levi, are we supposed to be at full HP?
Your HP doesn't quite change. How much HP did you have?
It says I have 10 hit points for some
I mean,
reason.
Then you should probably have 22, considering you've had 18 days of rest.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
I
forever
haven't
to
really
rest
had
in transit.
combat.
Like, there's been no real combat that could have wounded us during this trip, and it's been over 2 weeks. I think we should be at full everything right now.
Yeah, you guys should be fine.
Also, if it's not obvious, Tim Tom is visibly nervous.
Oh, yeah, that should be very obvious. So give me a moment. You all can chat amongst yourselves while I work on something real quick.
Try to relax, would you, Doctor?
Oh, I'm doing my best here. And feel like I'm failing miserably.
Well,
The dropship being loaded into the fortress feels like we're just being put in an armored casket.
Armored caskets.
look at it.
Armored big metal boxes.
Look at it this way. We're not in transit anymore. We're out of echo space. We're on the ground.
Fair
That's
enough.
something to be thankful for, isn't it?
Yeah. Suppose you're right.
It's more or less the situation and the circumstances involved around
Don't
it.
get me wrong. I understand there's a degree of risk we're taking here, but would you rather this or have the rat tapping at our airlock door?
Oh no, I wasn't scared about the transit. I'm more terrified about the, like I said, the circumstances in which we find ourselves.
You seemed very antsy during our trip. To say nothing of, well, no point in talking about that.
Either way, I think it's a little too late to have regrets about it.
Oh no,
I don't have
our foots are firmly in the door.
We were going to have to come here anyway, and like I said, Sector News has been making us out like monsters. We were going to have to explain this somehow.
I love that art.
So, you all wait for the cargo doors of the dropship to lower. That way you can make your way out into the hangar. You do have to wait just a little bit for the pressurization to finish on the exterior. That way you're not walking around in a fucking vacuum. That being said, you're eventually released and begin wandering your way through a great hangar. It is definitely no small feat that built this vast construction, and from what you saw of most of this city, large amounts of alloys and steel and industry were required to put this entire thing together. It is quite a feat of engineering, mining, shaping, engineering, that kind of, all of that bullshit sewn
So,
together.
some kind of industrial mining world, maybe manufacturing. I'm musing out loud to the party.
Probably. Makes sense.
You think this place was always like this, or they ruined it with their overproduction?
No, I think this world was always made out of iron.
Yeah, I don't think this world ever was a garden.
It is a moon.
So, you will proceed outward There are many different entrances and exits to this place, but it looks like several, and I mean like dozens of people are flooding onto this hangar bay. A lot of them are armored, some of them are wearing robes. It definitely looks like a mishmash of cultures all coming to fruition. Are you just going to stand around and wait to be greeted?
I mean, if we can't move forward any further, then I guess so.
I mean, you could move forward, but you might just end up, leaving from what is very clearly a welcoming party.
Okay, well, in that case, I suppose we will meet the welcoming party and do this properly.
So, you wait into an entourage of about 12 different armed guards, all surrounding the exit, the entryway, the place that you just left the dropship. Surrounded by several rifles that are not aimed at you, but are very clearly equipped.
Well, yeah, there's security. That makes sense.
From out of a small cluster of them emerges almost looks like a captain of a vessel herself. You can very clearly make out what appears to be like a red, almost captain's overcoat, and definitely the sign of several bionics. It looks like this person is dressed in what looks like an armored corset that definitely has a very gothic theme to it. It looks very grim and dirty almost, yet despite the fact that it's clean. From the left eye socket, or rather it would be technically her right to you, is a bionic eye that is not clearly that advanced. It simply appears to be almost like a goggle firmly implanted within this definitely female skull. She approaches most of the party. I assume you all are the Deathless.
That would be
Yeah,
us.
we are.
That would be correct.
Very well. You are all under arrest.
And Tom just hangs his head. God
And
damn it.
it is at this point that the 12 armed guards all descend their rifles and begin pointing.
Arthur's just gonna nod a little bit and just be like, yeah, and he's gonna raise his hands. So no funny business, right?
Tim Tom raises his hands as well.
Firm nod as most of the guards begin to clasp on some various means of restraint.
On what charges?
Yari hands over his weapons as well.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, yeah, no. Yarich just spontaneously arrives out of smoke and hits the metal deck right next to the rest of the party. At which
And then
point,
immediately gets shot because it fucking just apparated out of fucking nowhere.
yeah, a lot of the guards immediately start screaming and pointing their weapons at him.
That's a thing that happens. It's
Fuck,
fine.
did you tell
It's
them we
fine.
were fugitives? God damn it.
So,
Did you have a better plan, your reach? We were about to get blasted out of the... Not your reach, sorry, Vaku. We were about to get blasted out of the sky.
So, are any of you guys resisting arrest?
No,
I'm not,
No.
but I'm demanding to know under what charges.
She is not answering you.
Great.
So,
We're being
all of you are restrained and brought further in. Once you've left the hangar, you actually do see that a majority of the undercarriage of this city is like open and exposed to the air, and there are structures hanging and like kind of poking up from the ground. You get a sense that this is a multi-level facility all built around some kind of central spire that is linked deep, far into the depths of the moon. You all are currently just kind of being marched a single file line across these varying platforms into a large floating transport.
Yari steps in.
So you all are guided onto this ferry, at which point the rest of the guards and this red-coated woman steps on, and it begins to float, kind of gently at first, but it quickly picks up speed and begins to go along the ferryways with the rest of these transportations, the rest of these transports.
Tim Tom's gonna try to make small talk with one of the guards. This is a pretty nice little place you guys got here.
Yeah, this guy who's wearing like industrial grade armor, almost like a faceplate of sheer polished iron that's kind of reflective, along with a few eye slots that just kind of signify the fact that this man is still, living, breathing human, is not really responding to your queries.
That's really neat armor. Looks pretty heavy. Must be pretty strong.
Uh huh.
So, yeah. Tim Tom nervously, like
Outside.
tapping his foot. Like, so, get many visitors here? I mean, it looks pretty bustling. What do y'all do here?
So I imagine that at this point, the guard is kind of gently pushed back with a gloved hand, and the same lady kind of takes his place as if to exchange the conversation between the two. This facility is known as the Crucible. It is the primary forge and manufacturer of most of the Dominion's vast armament of technologies.
That is impressive.
Indeed, it is.
This place big. You ever
Yeah.
get lost rolling around this place?
This place, big, definitely.
Arthas,
We at least
Is-
get to know
is this-
why you're arresting us.
is this
Well, in
transport
due
like?
time, I have no intention of explaining it.
Yeah, don't bother. It's not like I asked 5 times in a row and got no answer or anything.
Was this the place that me and Phoenix was supposed to investigate?
At least
Uh,
get a hint.
So
from
now,
what-
now that your reach is here, I hate to interrupt. I'm gonna look down at your reach. Welcome to Castellum.
No.
Yeah, each
Yeah.
kind of curls in a little bit, kind of unnerved. Or was
So-
there? Okay.
Yeah, this ferry begins to float its way towards the central spire. After about 10 minutes, it actually makes its way towards one of the ferry docks along the sides, at which point you are greeted with even more guards, which carry you quickly and, well, efficiently into the belly of the beast.
I mentally note to myself, they must be quite afraid of us if they think they need this many guards.
It looks like this is some kind of definite security procedure. Like they have a surplus of flesh and equipment to the point where they can afford to do stupid shit like this. It definitely seems as if they're trying to show off their wealth. Eventually, you all are put into curt little cells deep within the depths of this facility in this large central spire. This repetitive gray metal, which occasionally you see a red-robed figure cross to kind of look and check over each panel, which looks very hilarious, mind you. You all are, for the most part, separated, though your
Shit.
cells are kind of aligned to the point where you could converse with each other if that's what you want.
I really have nothing more to say unless people are talking to me.
Would it have been possible for me to like sneak some fucking some of my engineering tools with me?
Yeah, go ahead and make a sleight of hand check.
All right. Sleight of hand. Do I have any other bonuses to that besides just what I got, or do I have expertise in it? Yeah.
I
That's
don't know. Do you?
Oh,
Are you just not going to
I got a nat
risk
20,
it?
so
So you go ahead. Wow. If his bonus was just a little bit higher. Regardless, you somehow nimbly hide a bit of your engineering tools within the folds of your stealth suit. And during the pat down and just kind of general stripping of weapons, they don't really go over it. It seems like they're coming really close to it, like dangerously close. But you basically managed to derail the conversation with something awkward. You, again, are confined. And eventually, after a matter of 30 minutes pass, it seems like you are being brought out one by one. So, we're going to start from the top of the list.
Cool.
Devin,
Yes.
You were brought out of your cell and brought into a fairly blank, but there is a couple of chairs just to remain comfortable. Once you're actually brought into the room itself, this red cloaked woman unlocks your handcuffs herself, these actual monocles, sci fi restraints, and simply puts them on the table as she takes a seat.
Right. So Karth is going to take a seat sort of across the table with her, kind of rolling his hands from side to side, getting the sensation that he can move them again. So what would you like to talk about?
Well, first I thought we should start with some introductions. I am Neve von der Grimm, official inquisitor of his holy dominion.
And I, Karth and Opel, Grey Monk of the or Knight of the Order of Grey.
It's not often I get a knight to my table. Tell me what brings you here.
Travel. You see my companions that I've been graced with. And
Graced
so we are
with.
we're all traveling together. Mutual benefit.
Well then, you are fortunate in some circumstance that you were not present at the gala. So, tell me a little bit about your companions.
Well, then primarily they keep to themselves, but from my read, they're not untrustworthy. We have a moth boy that's great with computers, a doctor whose hands are too large for normal needles, a man out of time, and a bird. And he's gonna kind of like cant his head a little bit, and kind of stroke his chin.
So, the bionic eye kind of glows, and she kind of gives you a bit of a grin. Why don't we start with the man out of time? You're referring to the soldier, yes?
Yes.
Now, I hope you don't mind if I ask for some elaboration.
We haven't talked much directly about it, but I get the sensation that he suffered a accident in stasis, that he stayed in far longer than he intended to. That's what I've just been able to glean from conversation. He's sensitive about some some people and subjects.
What kind of people and what kind of subjects? I'd hate to bring it up in front of him.
Carthan, kind of shakes his head a little. Please understand that I'm telling this for your safety just as much as I am, trying to cooperate here, build rapport with you. He's not a fan of the court or, those of us that have links to it in one way or another. Something
Well,
tells me that's something long ago.
that is unfortunate, as, well, the Pale Court is one of the few gleaming pieces of civilization left in this barren hellscape. I'll keep that in mind when I talk to him. Now let's move on to what you called the bird.
I mean, that's it. He's from a world that I can't recall from the top of my head. But he's, good in a fight. Seems good character.
So just a scrapper.
I suppose.
Kind of gives her head a curt nod. With an offhand, she kind of flicks off into empty space, and you see a bunch of holographic sigils appear, at which point she clicks a couple. So, you were not present at the gala. I do not recognize you from the entrance party. There are a few people missing from our cells that I would like to discuss. There was a detective amongst your group. A man by the name of Enko Sorion. Do you recognize that?
I recognize his name, yes. As for why he was missed on the ship or where he is now, I can't quite bring words for.
It's funny that you mentioned that. The spontaneous appearance of the moth definitely gives me some idea that you are not simply normal.
Arthan's he's gonna grit his teeth a little. I suppose
Fine,
that that's
you can
true.
discuss it with me. I would do nothing to tarnish the reputation of one of our holy knights.
You know, he's gonna lean back again. There's something about them, something that ties all of us together. What you witnessed whenever we met is part of that tying. I'm afraid that I don't understand it either, and there's not really a recollection that I recall, from our archives.
That is most unfortunate. Very well. The bear and, well, the character of the moth doesn't concern me too well. I thank you for your time. Would you prefer a more comfortable place to stay?
If you would be so kind, my lady.
I would. So she's going to go ahead and escort you towards a rather nice waiting area. It's a bit more garbed. There's actual fabric and different emblems and flags kind of hanging from the ceiling. It looks like almost the waiting room. It is
I'm in the
definitely better than
visitors area.
it is definitely better than a cell. You
Yeah.
That
also see
recently refurbished used to be a prison cell.
yeah, it's definitely not a cell, but you do get a sense that the doors are locked. At least you have comfortable chairs.
Right. So I've swapped a prison cell for a mental ward.
Pretty much.
So Karth is just going to, sit down sort of and like pull one leg up into his lap and kind of drift into meditation if he's left alone.
Very well. Nobody really disturbs you. So after the night is taken, the centurion is next. You
Oh
are taken
boy.
up from your prison cell. I imagine rather like violently, like "Don't put your hands on me" kind of style. At which point you are taken into the interrogation room and sat down in front of the same person. They go through a basic instructions. You are revealed her name. I assume that you tell her 447.
Centurion 447. This is the part where you start answering questions, right?
The part where both of us get to reveal some things to the other.
Why are we being apprehended?
Well, you have several questions that I need answered.
No response.
Okay, well, I must mention that I am a person of significant authority on these parts, and I am doing my best to make your apprehension and interrogation as comfortable for you.
Do you hear me arguing?
Very well. Then I will begin. So, you were one of the few present at the gala.
Correct.
One of the few present at the terraformer whenever it began collapsing.
Also correct.
I have a number of questions as to how this ordeal went down. So, if you don't mind,
Go on.
from what my contact has told me, you probably met him, Mr. Francis. He told me that there was a third party, quote unquote, that was involved with the destruction of the terraformer.
That's correct.
So, run me through what happened when you went to the gala. You just got there and someone came out of the nothing and caused everything to go to hell.
We were there because our mutual associate, Ankos Orion, was chasing a lead. At the time, he was employed with the detective agency and was trying to find out why the terraformers... I kind of pause. I'm not entirely sure what he was looking for with the terraformers, but I think it had something to do with the fact that they weren't running, and he wanted to find out why. So he took us all to the gala with him. He ended up finding Stursk, the CEO of Stormcast Innovations, I think is the company's name. Ended up getting friendly with him, and he offered a tour of the terraformers. I and Yurich were selected to tour as well. He was curious about my presence there, and Yurich is an accomplished engineer. His presence there also made the most sense. So we arrived at the platform, took a brief tour, and I wasn't at the location of the machines themselves whenever the tampering began, but I came to find out that there was an individual present with high-level psionic abilities that manipulated Ankos and Yurich into triggering the terraformers something. I don't know exactly what they did, but it wasn't good, and it sparked this war. And it wasn't their fault. They were manipulated.
And what happened next?
What happened next is, well, to put it bluntly, shit hit the fan. Alarms went off, security was deployed. From my friends at the gala, I was informed that gunfire started breaking out there as well. And given no other option, we had to make our escape.
So, pulling up her right hand, which is very clearly bionic, tracing an almost skeleton-like finger, which is kind of a running theme with a lot of Dominion bionics. They kind of have a bit of a skeletal vibe to them. Drags that index finger along the table almost in a manner of like reversing the topic of conversation. Back to the terraformer. So, describe this figure for me.
She, well, I knew her once.
Personally.
Personally.
Does she have a name?
202.
A number?
Just like me.
And you are...
447.
And also a number. It doesn't quite answer my question.
How familiar are you with the Centurion Project, with Concordia?
I tend not to busy myself with the manner of ancient history, but I do recall there being some kind of super soldier program in the far past.
Well, you would be just like the Syndicate if you didn't believe me when I told you I'm one of them.
Stranger things have happened, soldier.
I was being transferred to Arcturus on board the Majesty, a military vessel. I was asleep when it happened, but there was clearly some kind of complication. Slept too long. Now I'm here.
Slept too long. And I assume that the posse that you're traveling with saved you.
That would be correct. There was a collision incident. They were on some kind of civilian transport craft. There might have been some kind of ecospace incident that ended in them abruptly meeting the Majesty.
So, this 202, you said, what is she like?
She, when I served with her, had low-level psionic abilities. She could use them to create minor hallucinations, sway people's mental states, was good for deception, diplomacy, that kind of thing. She also used them to great extent as sabotage mechanics, which is exactly what she did with this terraformer. Granted, her abilities have multiplied exponentially since she was last active, but evidently, she must have slept for quite some time too.
Would you mind if I asked for a general appearance?
She's about my height, pale skin, crystal blue eyes, stark white hair. One side of it has been shaved. That's not regulation, but not that it matters anymore.
I imagine you both kind of smile.
And Do I remember? Let me ask you, as a player, did she have those slitted eyes whenever I served with her, or is this recent?
No, this is recent.
Small detail, not sure what it means, but when I served with her, her eyes were cybernetically augmented, and that doesn't mean they necessarily look much different from that of a typical standard human.
So something
Whenever
creepy about Neve is that, like, she never stops looking at you. Like, there's never any like glancing to the wall behind you or looking anywhere else while this person is talking, or even so much as blinking. But whenever you mention that weird detail, there's kind of like this intense concentration that you start to feel way.
But whenever I met her again, her eyes had changed. There were these cat-like slits, almost predatory. Might suggest to me that something changed. Maybe new cybernetics, something to do with her increased psionic abilities. I couldn't say for sure. What I can say is that she was working directly with Stursk. Stursk seemed like he trusted her entirely. She was there under the auspice of being one of his personal guard.
And something tells me that that wasn't an official position.
If I had to take a gander, you're correct. She likely used her abilities to get in good with him.
I must say, 447, I admire your honesty.
I never was a good liar.
With this kind of almost compliment out of the way, she again draws the conversation back with her finger.
That's why I had to tell Francis everything. I knew that there was a narrative being told about us throughout the sector. If I had said nothing, you would have assumed we were just saboteurs, criminals, something, and been done with it.
So back to the event of the collapse. You weren't present when the initial sabotage took place, but you were quickly drawn into the event.
That is correct.
What happened?
What happened is there were blaring alarms. Ankos evidently broke free of the psionic trap and called me in for backup. So I rushed over there and attempted to...
So you found him and your moth, Yarich.
That's correct.
What were they doing?
Yarich was still under the spell and was frantically tampering with the equipment, not of his own free will. And Ankos was trying to stop him. I went after 202. She was running.
So, I'm going to take it that you followed her.
I did.
And what happened?
What happened is she acted like she didn't know me. She just kept running. It was like she had some other motive and was far beyond any sort of camaraderie we shared in the past. Like she'd completely forgotten her purpose.
Her purpose?
Well, Initiative Centurion has started to stop the onslaught of the Hollowed and save humanity from genocide.
Do you still think that that's your purpose?
I kind of lean back in my chair and bring my hands together in front of my chest. Well, Concordia is no more, and the Hollowed Court is a shadow of what it once was when I fought it. My only purpose now is to find what was taken from me, and have my revenge.
If I could ask, what exactly are you taking revenge against?
They won. They slaughtered my people. You should know well enough. I kind of lean back forward again.
I haven't bothered with ancient history, 447. You'll have to remind me.
Concordia is nothing more than a sun-bleached rock.
Well, it sounded to me like they kept you prisoner. A
I
super soldier program.
I was purpose-built. I was no more a prisoner then than I am now.
And she kind of laughs. You are a prisoner, aren't you? I'm so sorry about that.
I shake my head. Regardless, you asked what happened next. I went after her. I fell under her psionic spell as well. I was left unable to fight, and she escaped. And then we escaped later on. Enkos called in backup, and we made it out of there alive.
Well, that's quite vague. You escaped. But can we go back just a little bit?
Go
You
on.
fell under her spell and what?
Was unable to fight.
You were unable to fight.
It clearly
That
wasn't
it?
real, but I saw some entity. It was a tree with gnarling, twisting roots that ensnared me. I tried shooting at it, but what can you do against that?
And how many shots did you fire?
1 or 2.
Actually, if I recall, you shot 3 times.
What?
So, again, casting her hand to the side, that holographic display comes back up and she grips one of the portraits and pushes it towards you, clicking one of the icons, the sigils, and a video feed begins playing. It is frazzled, and it looks like it is shaking almost, but the camera depicts a soldier in armor much like yours, a almost smudge in the distance standing on the railing of the actual rig itself, and the curt royal red cloak of the acting king of House Baldor approaching the scene. And through the fizzled, just kind of frazzled audio clips, you can hear, what is going on? What are these alarms? And immediately, one shot impacts his gut and immediately sends him hurtling to the ground, and he just, what the hell? What are you doing? Another shot impacts him directly in the chest, and he just kind of starts gurgling, at which point one more shot breaks loose, and the king is slain, and that is where the video feed ends. She just kind of pulls the clip back towards her ensemble and draws it back into whatever kind of magical registry she is using.
Oh, fuck.
I did that?
Kind of gives a shrug.
I don't know if it's apparent, but 447, leaning back in his seat, seems shocked by this footage. Enkos wasn't under the effect of that. He never told me I killed anyone.
Did Anko see this?
He must have. At some point, we were escaping. We'd heard that the acting king had died. None of us, at least I didn't know what did it.
Well, the answer is simple. You did. That being said, immediately after this event, you seem to get quite a few things blurry. You escaped and she escaped.
She made off somehow. And there was no footage of her anywhere.
Well, I have a few bits and blurs of a weird person lurking in the corners of video feeds. Nothing concrete, but I do appreciate the information.
We had
I
with
have to
us.
say,
We had
447.
we had with us a sentient robotic creature, organism. I don't know what you'd call it here. An autonomous mech, piloted by the consciousness of a dead pilot. His name was Volkir. He broke in, took us out of there. That's how we escaped, if you really need to know.
Well, goodness. I had heard tales of long-dead suits coming back to life with the personalities of their former occupants, but never had a clear example of it.
That's exactly
Unfortunately,
what
I
happened.
don't have any video footage of this, or else I would bring it to the fore as well. So, you were rescued by a knight of House Baldor.
And I didn't get very far either after taking those shots. So how come Enkos didn't see the king's body? How come he didn't tell me this happened?
Well, if the detective were here, I would ask him, but he seems to be otherwise preoccupied and kind of gives you a knowing smile.
Hell. Great. Well, what happens now?
Well, the way that I see it, I could have you locked up for a very long time,
You could
even
have my head
executed.
taken.
But I get a sense that you and I share a common enemy.
202.
Both of us want to see this figure brought to justice, and I genuinely believe that you did not kill the acting king of your own volition.
If you're offering me a deal to bring her in, I want
She
to.
kind of extends out a hand.
I'm gonna lean forward and take her hand in a firm handshake. I want answers from her too.
You both shake. Would you like somewhere more comfortable to wait?
I'd appreciate it. What was your name again?
My name? You may call me Neve. We will be talking with each other much in these coming years.
Thank you, Neve.
Neve?
Yeah, she is going to go ahead and lead you back into the waiting room along with Carthan.
I'm gonna sit down with Karth.
Karth opens one eye. Well,
Would you
how
believe
did
me
it go?
would you believe me if I told you that I killed the acting king of House Balador and I never knew it?
Had I not ever met you before? No.
I've got questions for Ankos when he comes back. He should have saw his body and he should have saw me near it and he should have been able to put 2 and 2 together. I never would have said a damn thing if I knew I was responsible for that. But all that said, seems like Neve and the rest of us have a common enemy here.
I think that we have a opportunity here. I apologize if I was sour earlier about being arrested on your advice.
I kind of lean back. I mean, I guess I can't blame you, but like I said, this was going to come up no matter what. There's a narrative about us going around, and you're guilty by association.
It's true.
But regardless, having what was revealed to me been revealed, it went far better than I thought it would have. Maybe she's just playing me, but I get the sense this Neve believes me. She's offered me a deal. We're bringing in 202. We're bringing her to justice. If this is the start of some kind of alliance, then I welcome it. We need resources, and I want more than anything to see her answer for everything.
So,
And if this is how this deal starts, so be it.
I can't disagree with that. And
Timothy,
I'm gonna kind of look.
Yes.
I'm just gonna one last thing. I'm gonna look around this padded cell. Nice place they got here. That's all.
Timothy is sitting on the bed, just blankly staring at the wall, one leg shaking, one leg doing the leg shake. That makes sense, like the
yeah, no, I
leg
get it.
bounce.
You hear the sound of keys jingling and the bars being opened from your cell. Yes, these cells have bars.
They should have given us mugs and harmonicas too.
Timothy looks up at the individual opening up his cell.
It is the same armored guard that you tried striking up a conversation with on the lift.
Hello.
Get up.
Okay. Kim Tom stands up.
Come with me.
Yep.
So you follow him all the way to the door, at which point he kind of puts a hand behind you and almost tries to push you, but you weigh 1,000 pounds, so...
I weigh 1,200 pounds.
Yeah, you kind of have to go of your own volition into the room, at which point you hit your head on the doorway and have to kind of cradle down in order to fit into the interrogation room.
Kim Tom enters.
So you sit down in the seat sized for a medium person, hearing it creak and cry out beneath you. I would assume, anyway.
Tim Tom's just sitting there. He's like, "Ow." Does this chair have arms, or is it just like a seat in the back?
I imagine it had arms.
Tim Tom
So,
looks at the chair, looks at this interrogator. I
well,
broke
there's
your
no
chair.
interrogator as current, but almost as if she were parting with a newfound ally, Neve comes in through the door and goes to take a seat, and you've broken that chair, haven't you?
Yes.
Never mind that, it's just a chair. I have a few things to discuss with you. I shall get introductions out of the way. Neve von der Grimm, you are Dr. Timothy Thomas.
Correct.
So, I've already spoken with many of your comrades. I've gotten a fairly decent sense of how the event of the gala transpired. But I would just like to ask you some general questions. Now, as far as I'm aware, Timothy Thomas didn't have much of a part to play in that gala. He had some stresses with the acting king of House Beldor. You kind of ran in and out, kind of tried to enjoy yourself, but immediately got insulted and ran out. Are you just going to try to kind of convey most of this?
More or less.
Are you trying to lie about anything in particular?
Timothy is a terrible liar.
Very well. So, not. It kind of seems like she's not getting what she wants, so. At which point, yes, I'd assume that your experience at the gala was quite limited. So let's push into a different topic of conversation. I am aware of your military background.
Did you research?
I always do my research. So let us discuss a few things that I have questions about. During your service with the Syndicate, you served on Zava 3 in a effort to suppress the Baldor War effort.
Yes.
During that time, you were a part of a convoy, a detachment from one city to another, ferrying goods and supplies, a relief effort.
Tim Tom, like, kind of sits there and, like, rolls his jaw a little bit. Yes.
This convoy impacted and suffered a detonation from an improvised explosive device.
Eye twitches a little bit.
Now, as far as the records say, you were given several medals of honor in your service that day, but the description of the events that carried out are vague at best. I want to know more about your saviors.
Would you elaborate?
Well, again, as far as the records say, you managed to survive the demolition, attempted to save some of your comrades, and were rescued by something. Something that is very classified within the ranks of the syndicates.
Tim Tom's, like, rubbing the back of one of his hands. Respectfully, I'm not entirely sure I can disclose that information. But yes, I was saved by a unit of special operations. Or yeah, it's who I think you're talking about, right?
So she kind of left
No,
for
like
her.
player asking DM. It's who I think you're talking about, right? We've had this discussion in the
Believe so.
past. What's that?
Believe so.
The fucking werewolf.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So, what do you know about this special operations unit, this so-said Bloodhound Squad?
Not much. First time I ever saw him. Heard rumors.
Do you remember anything about them in particular?
Can I do a sense motive check on her? Because I'm not trusting of her. Is that okay if I do a sense motive check?
Yeah, go ahead. You're trying to get a vibe. You get a sense that, like, this person has spent the majority of their life learning the best poker face that they could ever develop.
Well, don't really honestly know much. I know they're high up there. They're beyond that, I don't really know much about them. I never
You
worked with them
saw
beyond
them in
that. I
action.
never. What's that?
Said you saw them in action. They came to your rescue. Are you sure you don't recall anything?
Violent.
Describe the violence.
Obscene and rampant. Almost uncontrollable.
Uncontrollable, you said.
I don't
Did
think
you-
uncontrollable is the right word. Controlled uncontrolled, or controlled chaos.
So they were directed. They weren't just berserkers killing everything around them.
I
They
think so.
had a sense of direction, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh, very interesting. Well, I would have questions, but people are rather tight-lipped about this topic of conversation. If you don't know anything about the Bloodhounds, then I'm afraid that concludes our business.
Really, honestly, like, I myself don't really know much about them. I just know that they're like
That's fine.
Like, I myself don't know much, so I don't think Tim Tom would have
No, that's
much information, because he probably only seen them once.
That is totally fine. If that's what your character knows, that's what your character knows. Well, I am sure that your soldier companion will have much to discuss with you. I assume you would want more comfortable accommodations.
Would be preferred.
She leads you on, kind of having to pull you out of the broken seat.
Tim Tom can stand up on his own.
Yeah, very well. So you have to squeeze your way through until eventually you get to the lobby to join the rest of you. There are several cushioned seats. One of them, a love seat, is typically for 2 people, but 1 for you.
Tim Tom walks over, sits down.
Tell me they brought in a large chair for you.
He's taking up the entire love seat.
I'd be surprised if he hasn't broken one already.
I did break one.
So
Well,
with that, I
The
guess
more things change.
I'm gonna lay out the news to Tim Tom that apparently I killed the acting king of House Baldor, and in spite of that, we are apparently not in as deep shit as we would have expected.
Tim Tom is shocked, relieved. Also, at the same time, you get the look on his face of, oh dear God, what in God's green earth are we getting ourselves into?
Well, you're being blackmailed is what you're being.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're being blackmailed.
They're being blackmailed. So, at this moment, excusing the rest of you, Nebe makes her disappearance, and eventually the cell door to Vaku's little room is opened. Vaku, what have you been doing?
Kind of.
Haku is not there. He has escaped.
No, there's just an empty vent.
Baku's been rolling under the table this entire time. He's
I
actually
mean-
like commandeered a shuttle. He's off roll.
I mean, do you want me to?
What would Vaku
What would
do?
Vaku do?
See,
Would
What
Vaku
would
try to
Baku do in
escape?
this?
See, I imagine Vaku broke out, made it 15 feet, and then got shot in the back by a random security guard.
That probably would be what happened.
So, do you
I mean,
actually want to try to escape? Because we can totally do that.
I mean, I don't know what I would do if I managed to escape.
It's your call. I just thought it was
Like-
funny.
Don't know.
Be's too nervous to escape.
I'm like, I got the tools on me in case I can like pull some shenanigans, but like if I were just escape, I don't have any fucking backup. I have no fucking plan. So I'm just gonna keep going along, and then when I see a good opportunity, I'll just act on it. So
Well, very well. You get several good opportunities, essentially. Seeing the rest of your people just being ferried one by one to never be seen again into an office, into a hallway, disappearing. One by one, they're not coming back. You're just left with a lot of free time.
Yarge probably just fiddling
Panicking
with the.
internally.
Your reach is building a shotgun trap.
He's fiddling
I
with
could
the old mattress and just kind of trying to make it comfortable.
He's turning the
Yeah.
old mattress into a fucking IED.
Your reach
No.
is like putting a lump of pillows underneath the blanket to make it look like he's sleeping, but it's hooked up to a tripwire, so when they take the blanket off, it explodes.
yeah, I kind of have the tools on me so I can like coordinate something with the others, and I haven't had any opportunity to coordinate anything with anyone. So I'm
Well,
just like,
engineering tools don't coordinate things, they're engineering tools.
you know what I mean.
You can do what thou wilt.
So no escape, just going to roll with it.
Gonna roll with it because like
So the door eventually unlocks and a guard escorts you into the office. You are met with a stool.
sit on the stool.
You can clearly tell that the arms of this stool, which was once a chair, have been broken, like bent off.
It was Tim Tom's doing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Neve entering this room just kind of immediately blankly just states, yes. She takes a seat.
Would be the
So-
first time.
Introductions out of the way. You are...
I am Vaku Kome. I'm just a bit of a vagabond, just kind of going
Sure.
wherever I may roam.
3-1
Wherever I
reiterates
may roam.
her own name and begins to go through the typical spiel, what you would experience during the gala, your personal interactions, just kind of, are you trying to keep secret about any of that stuff?
Can't think of anything I want to keep secret in particular. Just kind of,
Not much crime actually happened on your side.
I just kind of just slipped out. You know, just don't want to get in trouble.
I mean, Vaku was the first person to actually meet 202.
Oh yeah,
You could bring up your experiences with her and just like kind of corroborate what 447 was reporting.
yeah. So this character 202 that 447 was apparently familiar with, she actually struck up conversation with me before shit went down.
And what exactly did she say?
She just was really interested in me, and then after 447 pulled me aside and told me about her, she just kind of disappeared.
You said she was interested in you. For what particular reason?
She said she'd never seen anyone of my race before. Or at least, I think something about me not being familiar to her. It's been a while.
Neve kind of thinks on this for a moment. That is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah,
So,
don't know what she'd have any. Don't know why she'd be interested in my kind.
I myself am actually rather curious. You're
I'm a Leoka. We hail from the planet known as Amar Zephyr.
I'm not familiar with that planet. Is it under Syndicate space?
Not particularly. They're just kind of on their own. They make contact with Syndicate sometimes with the
So you're independent.
yeah, basically. We just kind of deal with whoever is around.
Do you or your people owe allegiance to anything?
No. They trade with the Syndicate sometimes, but there's not really a strong allegiance there.
I suppose understandable.
Yeah.
So, you left Obviously. For what
Yes.
reason?
I just wanted to make a new life for myself out in the cosmos.
And what kind of life is that?
Just looking for mercenary work, I suppose.
She kind of folds her hands for a second. I have already had several discussions with your peers.
Mhm.
One of them in particular seemed very interested in working with me.
All right.
I suppose that this doesn't hold any interest to you.
What might that be?
Well, to sum this up, this individual, this 202, the third party behind the attacks that have caused the Syndicate Baldor War, well, the houses and the Syndicate War. I need to find out more about this person. I want to find them, and I want to bring them to justice.
All right.
Would you be interested in that?
I suppose.
Very well. Well, if there's nothing else for us to discuss, I assume you would like more comfortable accommodations.
Yes.
So she takes you, leads you into the waiting room, sits you down, and gives the majority of you a welcoming smile before she departs.
I'm gonna kind of nod towards her respectfully.
Yeah. Yard is probably starting to just kind of
And now that
nervously.
Vaku's in the room, I'm gonna bring him up to speed. You know, apparently I killed the fucking acting king of House Baldor without knowing it. It was me, Barry.
It was me, Barry.
Tim Tom at this point.
It was me, Dio.
See, I imagine like as you come in, Tim Tom is like looking about the room. It's like I've heard stories that they'll lure people into these rooms and there's secretly gas chambers.
You start hearing a hissing.
Well, we survived being gassed once before.
Don't worry, I'm just gonna like keep this on low voice up. I'm just gonna go to fucking 447. It's like I was able to sneak my tools in, so
I
it's
nod.
a jam.
If push comes to shove, we could use them, but between all of us in the room, I think this woman is being honest with us. We're being offered a deal to work with her and bring 202 to justice.
Yeah.
And if this is my best shot at finding her again, I'm taking that deal. I think we'll be fine. Maybe my trust is misplaced, but I think we'll be fine.
I'm just along for the ride.
Does anyone feel like it's hard to breathe?
No.
There's still that ever-present hissing sound.
Tim Tom's just like, I can't breathe. It's getting really hot in here.
Can I
think you're panicking,
make any
Doctor.
sort of checks to determine where that hissing sound's coming from?
You actually do innately sense that it's coming from a vent which one of those weird red-robed figures are currently like scuttling about and checking different tiles and machineries. There's actually another guard in here which is wearing an open-faced mask, and he just kind of like brushes his nose and coughs.
Right. I saw red vent.
Hang on, at that I'm gonna roll a what would
Michael.
that be? A fucking what kind of check would Tim Tom do after he sees that they're not just poison gas?
For my next trick, no.
Make a sense motive check, I guess. A 13. Well, you just get a sense that this man is tired of recycled air and is just kind of coughing to generally relieve himself of like anything that's, built up in his chest.
Tim Tom sits back down on the obviously like collapsing couch
Look,
that he's been sitting
Doctor,
on.
We're in a better position right now than I ever thought we'd be given the circumstances. Just relax. The last thing we need is
Tim Tom gives you the look of easier said than done look.
Because if you're panicking, other people are going to start the panic, and the last thing I need is to be in a room full of screaming people who can't get their heads together. Alright? Chill.
Chill as a cucumber. Chill as a
I
the
imagine we go
ice
from
cube.
the shaking bear to a
Doctor,
shaking
I just found out
Yarich.
that I killed a monarch and I'm managing to keep it together. Come on.
Wait, the monarch that he killed, was he the one that I talked to?
Yes, he was the one that insulted you.
Well, I also cussed him out.
Yeah, but that's not something your head chopped off over.
It depends on the monarch.
My point is, it looks like we're being offered a deal, and it looks like a deal that suits me just fine. Keep it together.
Well, I'm glad at least one of us is getting a good deal out of this.
Mm-mm.
We're all
People
in this
stand up.
together. No one is walking away from here who's going to get a different fate from the rest of us.
Besides, it's not like we can really part ways at this point.
Exactly.
So, I imagine we go from the shaking, teeth chattering fucking bear to Yarich, which is presumably doing the grasshopper thing and like rubbing his legs against his wings to make the weird chirping noise.
Yeah, his legs are kind of shaking
So-
together, creating that sound.
So the door is opened by a tall, looming guard in that same industrial armor that looks very creepy. And he just
Yarich
kinda
has
pokes-
one of the springs from the mattress, and he's going to put back into the mattress.
It's assembling the mattress.
Yeah, he's nervously
course.
disassembling the mattress. Christ. So,
Fucking your reach.
I imagine that this guard stands for a second and almost looks like he wants to say something. Like, kind of nervously. Can you speak?
Yes, I can.
Alright, come on then.
All right, coming.
So, you
Come in.
are drawn into the same interrogation room, now onto a stool with bird scratches on it.
And just crushed. Half crushed.
It's half crushed.
Bird scratches?
Yeah. While Yarich is waiting, he's going to try to get the stool back into good-looking order.
I don't think Vaku was scratching the stool at all.
I'm just
Can-
making a joke.
Can I see an engineering check to see if Yarich repairs the stool before the interrogator gets back in the room?
Yes, please.
Fucking Vaku scratched up the stool. Tim Tom snapped the arms off.
He didn't scratch up the stool.
447 left an empty bottle of
I'm
Mountain
fine.
Dew on the table.
So I imagine
Sir, double XP.
I imagine that somehow, some way, you just basically kept your toolkit for your mechanic shit intact. And as
Hold on.
Midget is walking in,
My thing cut out.
and fucking your reach becomes mist.
He fixes the chair, does not elaborate further. Evaporates.
All right, I'm back.
I just totally imagine, like, fixes the chair, like Devin said, and then just fucking evaporates. So,
You've been
Refuses
visited
to
by the ghost
elaborate
moth.
Further.
yeah,
Leaves.
Nibe walks into this room and sees that you are, like, manually wrenching this thing into, like, a jack, which is bending the arms back into place. And kind of puts both of her hands out and just goes, "You can calm down, please, just have a seat."
Yarich is going to sit, wanting to fiddle, but knows better not to.
Wanting to fiddle with your fucking thumbs. They were saying, like, fiddle as an instrument. Like, hop up under the table and start fiddling.
he fucking
just-
challenges Neve to a fiddle contest.
If you could win, you'll get the shiny fiddle made of gold.
Yeah.
What if you lose? Nothing against your soul.
So, Introductions are out of the way. You presumably introduce yourself as Yarit. She indeed introduces herself once again.
Mhm.
And you begin going through the beginnings of the gala, which was the same for basically everybody, reiterating it. Where
Mhm.
it changes is you were one of the people that were brought in as Ankos's entourages, right?
Yes, I was.
Along with the acting king and Stursk, as well as 447.
That is true.
So she asks you to reiterate, and clearly you talk about how you investigated a lot of the terraforming machinery. Stop me if you want to restrict or change any information.
I will also note that we had a recording going constantly, and that it's on my tablet of what was all talked about.
Now, I will mention, was this the same recording that was disrupted and turned into static?
The one that was from the
Yeah.
amulet.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it'd be static.
So whenever you bring that up, the both of you are just kind of talking and making actual, like, genuine computer and engineering talk, and you actually get a sense that Neve knows a lot about technology and computers in general. So you get on the topic of this recording, and she actually makes an offer, putting a hand out to you, and it's just like, if you don't mind, I'd like to see the recovered audio recording. Maybe I could get
I
some
haven't
insight.
worked on it myself, so only Tim Tom has attempted to work on it. But here.
So you pass over a little data chit, and she quickly pockets it. So, you were one of the ones underneath this 202's interesting facade, this magical effect.
Yard shivers at the word magical. Yeah?
I never got quite much of an elaboration as to how it worked from your comrade. He said that he saw things, and that it drove him into a non-combatant state, when clearly he was very combative.
Okay. From what I can tell, at least from my perspective, when I was being tricked, it looked like I was trying to shut down something. I was trying to, when she tricked me, it looked like she had activated the machinery and started it up. My goal was to actually shut it down before anything bad happened. And as I was able to work on the code, but I was seeing things differently. And it when I my best guess is I was hitting different keys than what thought I was. Like, I don't know.
So, you still felt in control of your mental faculties.
I was viewing things differently than how they actually were. Yes, but I was in control of my body. I was not seeing what was true.
So it was almost like a trick, not necessarily a control as posited before.
Yes, from what I can tell, yeah. If I had done nothing, I'm pretty sure that thing still would have been down right now.
Do you still have your research over the terraforming facility?
Oh, most definitely. Yari perks up and is going to put out all the data, and it's going to even put up the bits of the bits of code that he's been working on to try to identify what this thing's been doing since.
You go to explain most of these things, and she listens intently about the various codes that you've tried to assemble to try and reverse the process. And you're both kind of discussing different means of making that work, but she quickly kind of returns to the topic of conversation when she's acquired the SOSET data.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've discussed this with a couple of your former, well, rather not former, I shouldn't use that word, your current party members.
Okay.
Now, as it stands, one of your number is accused of some very serious and hefty crime. Now, instead of turning you in and wasting all of that potential. I would much rather give you the opportunity to shine, if you wouldn't mind.
Yari's head's tilt and his antennas kind of tilt in a strange way as he listens intently.
You can work under me, and we could get a number of important things done.
All right.
And
then-
as you're sitting with this individual, it hasn't been brought up, so I will point it out. This is someone that definitely has access to a lot of investigative material, resources, and skills. And you actually have a bit of a mystery on your hands.
I was thinking the same thing. There is one thing I do want to know. I was actually originally going to be here a lot earlier with someone named Phoenix Comet. He's my mentor. I'm pretty sure you probably, if you looked me up, as you said, you probably came across him as my legal guardian. Yes?
Well, unfortunately, there was not much in terms of recorded information over your name and personage. It seems that you don't have much in the means of citizenship within the syndicate or otherwise.
Don't?
You said
Hey,
that your mentor's name was what again?
Phoenix Comet. He basically helped me off my plan. Well, taught me everything I know, and well, since until recently at least. But we were on our way here to investigate one of your places. I don't remember what exactly, but on our way here, he was kidnapped. I was sent to the other place. I can't remember.
She draws in the holographic slates and begins pondering through data. So, this Phoenix was here to look at some strange samples that we keep under wraps. The information is highly secured, so I hope you don't mind if I don't disclose too much information.
I understand. I was not one
Seems
authorized.
that your mentor was an expert in what we call ancient technology,
Mm-hmm.
an archotech.
Yarich nods and puts put his front two arms on the table as he listens.
Now, unfortunately, we haven't heard much from Phoenix in these coming months. It was assumed that he had disappeared off the face of our Earth, having declined our invitation. You said he was kidnapped.
Yes, by some people in something similar to what 202 was wearing.
Do you think that these events are correlated?
My only guess is yes, and I've been trying to figure out why.
Well, if you excuse me, I will not take you at your word, but I will, rest assured, be looking into this.
I don't even know for myself, though. Yarich kind of shrugs with all four arms. But all I know is he was taken, and I don't know what happened since then. But either way, that's the. If you can see, try to figure out any hints of what happened to the. Could I come up with the name of the ship we were?
Yeah, go ahead.
What would the name of the ship be?
So, the name of the particular ship that you were traveling on was, we're going to say the Incandescent Toad.
The ship we were traveling on was the Incandescent Toad. Maybe you can find something that way. I haven't been able to get enough information on it, seeing as it's a relatively recent event.
Very well. Well, seeing as our business is concluded, I can see a very fruitful relationship emerging from this endeavor. Would you like to be escorted to the way the rest of your friends are going?
Oh, yes! I was thinking Nervous.
So as she kind of guides you, and you notice that there's definitely a bit more kindness whenever she's interacting with you directly, seeing as how you're so small, kind of guides you by hand. immediately.
See, when he's like, "Oh, you want me to escort you to where your friends are?" I just think fucking 1984. He's walking down the hall, standing behind him pulls out a pit like a Makarov pistol and just caps Yarich in the back of the fucking head.
Yeah, kind of leads you by bionic hand, just kind of dragging you into the waiting room with the rest of your friends.
Alright.
So,
Yarich is going to find a spot to sit and just all the nervousness is just going almost melt away at this point after.
So upon seeing your reach enter the room and look like he has control over his nerves, I'm just gonna say, glad to see there's at least someone in this room who's not panicking.
very well. So, all of you, if I may have your attention.
I look up.
Yarich listens intently.
I have already discussed this matter with 447, Vaku, and Yarich, but to those that I haven't extended the offer. She kind of extends out one of her hands, the still biological ones. I wish to give you a position. It's a minor title that comes with a few perks. The position of Acolyte. You can work under my wing, doing research in the darkness, figuring out what this 202 is up to, and tidying up other matters for me.
It's at this point I'm gonna speak up. This is our best bet. We all know that 202 did this. We all need to clear our names. And I want to find her personally so she can answer my questions. This offer we're being extended is the best shot we've got. We'll have access to resources, and we'll be doing it under some kind of officially sanctioned protection. I recommend we accept this.
I agree. This is much better position than I thought when we were going to be at.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm going to look back up to Neve, and if you'd like to talk to Ankos, I'll make sure he gets to you as soon as he rematerializes.
That is something that I wish to discuss with you all. If you are to become my acolytes, and knowing that your title is the Deathless, and seeing that you spontaneously emerge out of smoke, what is kind of waving a hand almost dismissively up with that?
All right. Well, if we're working together on something so sensitive and important to all parties involved, I figure honesty is the best.
He holds up a hand. She holds up a hand, rather. You two, pointing towards one of the robed people that's currently browsing over a set of piped works, and one of the guards leave. At which point the guard immediately just steps out of the room, and the red robed guy kind of goes like, pipes, and then leaves.
Where are the toasters you promised us?
Bunch of pipe fetishists, goddamn.
Honesty has got us this far, so I figure honesty moving forward is also the best policy.
Continue.
Right. Well, on the Majesty, where I was in cryostasis, there was another vessel docked to it. The name of the vessel escapes me, but it was associated with Project Voyager. On board that vessel was I'm not entirely sure how to describe it.
I would not call it an AI.
But that's
it's
the best
artificial.
analog.
It's artificial, but I don't think it's...
It's not an AI in the traditional sense. We'll just say that.
Yes.
But that's the best approximation we have for it. It physically manifested in the form of a black orb. And it was our only way off the ship. It worked with us, led us to some escape pods that we retrofitted into a shuttle, and made sure we made it safely off the ship and onto the surface of Zavoth 3. The caveat is we perished in that crash. We came to find out that this orb was able to bring us back. And
Yes.
it is still able to bring us back again and again. It's taken to calling itself Aspect. We have a very, shall we say, close relationship. If any one of us gets too far away from the other, we cease to exist. And then there are some times when just spontaneously, seemingly for no discernible reason, one of us may lose our grip on the material world. And that's where we're at.
So Neve seems to ponder for a while, silently kind of thinking
I
about-
will also note it may be contagious.
Right.
Yeah,
I
kind
should
of
have brought that up.
thinking about this for a long, long while. Do you know anything else about this? You said that it was something kept by Project Voyager, not
Yes.
made by them, but discovered by them.
It appears it was discovered by them, yes, but we can't say for sure.
We've been even Aspect
Yes, that's true.
doesn't know.
Even Aspect doesn't seem to know exactly what she is or where she comes from.
Are you sure it's telling the truth?
No clue.
She
but
hasn't misled us so far.
She has kept us alive at least, so there's that.
I'm not gonna mince words. Aspect's done a lot for us. I trust her.
Yeah.
Tim Tom thinks to himself, "You wouldn't lie to us, would you, Aspect?"
So, Aspect, kind of, you hear a giggle, and that's all you get.
You just see Tim Tom's eyes just like blank stare.
Are you all right, Doctor?
What? You looking
Oh.
all right?
As I'm going to kind of keep the conversation with Neve going, as Yurich pointed out, and I'm glad he did because it slipped my mind, Aspect is also contagious to some degree. We don't know by what proxy or what conditions have to be met, but occasionally she will induct another one of us into her number. That's how our comrade Karth managed to link up with us.
Well then, I hope you do not mind, but if you are contagious, I would like to have a further look at this.
By all means.
I've thought about some of the reoccurring patterns of this entity, and there are a few things that come to mind. Creatures capable of inducting such power, but nothing currently. So I will ask you to wait here, out of the reach of other people that may be inflicted.
Very well. As we said, it doesn't seem to infect everything indiscriminately. There's some kind of selection process, I think, but it's something worth noting.
Yar's just starting to kind of fiddle around with his little claws as we talk. And I will say this: I am going to be leaving out here pretty soon, so
So you're leaving, like, out of character?
Out of character.
Very well. So, as you all seem to conduct your meeting with Neve and are brought to, not necessarily back to your cells, but brought back to actual rooms.
Yes.
You are, for the first time since you got here, left alone in a group with each other.
So,
And Tyler, if you are leaving soon and Brian is leaving at 6, I suggest that we conclude our situation soon.
yeah.
I'm gonna look around the group. You reckon we should try to ask Aspect to talk with Neve herself?
I think that would be a wise idea.
Tim Tom thinks to himself, "Can you even do that?"
Well, we can ask.
No, Tim Tom thinks to like himself trying to talk to
Yeah, trying
Aspect.
to talk to Aspect. Aspect kind of, like, almost seems to be pondering for a bit before she responds in kind. Well, if I still had that body.
Yeah, we should.
Do you think you could like? And I thinking this like, could you do like a like what the ghosts do in the scary movies where it's like the ghost takes over the guy.
If you're asking if I can wrench control of you away, I wish I could, but I can't.
That is concerning. Tim Tom kind of blurts out, I think she needs a body.
Well,
Like, to Neve?
No. Like, in general, like while we're having this conversation, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think she needs a body.
well, unless they have any spare corpses laying around they're willing to let us desecrate, that's out of the question.
Maybe a convicted someone who's been convicted of a horrible crime.
Oh, you mean us?
No.
Yeah, he's going for a while.
Tim Tom looks at him and is like, treason, regicide. Yeah.
Well, I'm the one guilty of regicide, so none of you have to worry about that.
Guilty by association.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Terrorism. I don't know what the crime is for starting a war.
I'm just glad it seems someone believes us.
At the very least, is when give us a shot.
We can't ignore the fact that we are, to some extent, remarkable. Just turning us over to the Syndicate or cutting our heads off would be a waste. Given the fact especially that they can't cut our heads off.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Because of that, we're semi-immortal.
Aspect has said if we die too quickly, we will just die.
That said, still a little more difficult than a common criminal to get rid of.
So, I just want to mention, in case you've forgotten, both Vaku and Timothy Thomas, you have seen that Jackson is still technically alive.
Yeah.
Tim Tom's not saying anything about that in front of guests or places where we could be heard.
Isn't it just us in this room right now?
We don't know if there's recording software, so
Also, isn't fucking Neve here too?
I thought Neve left.
At this point, she's left.
Tom's just gonna start casually looking around this room we're in for the listening devices, such like that.
So, you can go ahead and give me a perception check, but to give you guys all an idea, it is essentially not necessarily a VIP room for nobility, but it's definitely for, like, guests of a not dirt value. Like, there are beds, there's a table, there's like a communal dining room, but it is very clearly locked off and you guys are not allowed to leave of your own volition.
Tom looks about for a little bit. He just... Where's 447 sitting? Is he even sitting?
I'm sitting.
Tom kind of like comes up next to 447, gets real close to him. Wait, no. Tom can fucking mental talk. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a dumbass. Tom, you just hear in your mind. Yeah, you know, your little, the guy that crashed my car?
Yeah, I hit him over the head with a hammer and it made a satisfying
Yeah,
cracking
he's
noise.
alive.
What?
Yeah.
It's staked in the heart. He's
No,
being...
you don't hear this. Because I can select who I
Well,
talk.
I don't have. Wait, can I respond mentally too, or
No.
no? Okay, so I'm saying this out loud. It seems like I'm talking to myself. That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, I more or less helped hide him.
Hide
He's
him.
under some decking on fuck, what's his name? The guy we rode in here with. Fucking
Zacharias.
yeah, I kind of helped hide him. Yeah, he just had a random coffin in the brig and he was like, "Hey, I need you guys to like
Wait,
stuff it under some
so he
floorboards."
was in a coffin.
Yeah,
So he's dead. You helped hide his body.
Tim Tom, you kind of see him like, I feel like with him, dead's a relative term.
Oh, great.
He said he is not destroyed,
But
more or
his
less.
body is still in a coffin.
Yeah, but he also said he has the possibility of coming back.
Okay.
He said he didn't have the what
Well,
it takes
Doctor,
to eliminate
I'm
him.
going to level with you. I don't know anything about vampires.
Tim Tom's like, neither do I.
So
Look, before I joined up with you guys, I didn't even know vampires existed, zombies, or magic.
I thought they were just scary bedtime stories for children.
So did I!
Okay.
All of this is crazy.
I don't know. I don't know a damn thing about vampires, so I'm going to take a wild guess and say you probably can't kill them, not for real. So
I don't know. I mean, it maybe if you like, I don't know, jettisoned it into the sun or something.
that's a good
Vampires don't like sunlight.
Good
so if
point.
you jettison it
Maybe
into
we
a sun, you know.
maybe we should ask why Zacharias hasn't done that then.
I think he has strong attachments to it.
Well, something we'll have to ask him about when we have the opportunity.
Look at that big kid.
So,
Alright, I'm heading out.
as all of you continue to settle, now technically under house arrest, but not really under threat of, execution, I suppose that is where we will end tonight's session.
And Tom ends the
Sadly-
session with, I need a drink.
Yeah, sadly a short session, but that's
I
all we
think
can really
I think we've had shorter before. This was okay.
This was a good one. This one was, I feel like this was a good dialogue heavy, and I liked it.
Yeah, that was nice.
Like, I think my fucking
I
Beast Blade
wish I could
session
have
was
been here
about
for the entire
about
thing,
this
but
long.
Beast Blade
family
was a
came over
little
and
long,
now
just
I
a
have to
little
go
longer
again.
than this one.
I'll be back.
I guess the only reason why I think that it's short is because like I have tomorrow off.
Fair
Oh, and
enough.
So-
I also have somewhere to be. Otherwise, I'd still be going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically same thing.
Okay, well,
Going-
I guess I'm gonna cut the recording here.